Libra, dear soul of balance and beauty, can you feel it? A door is opening, and once you walk through it, nothing will ever be the same. This is not just another horoscope reading. This is a turning point, a moment marked by the universe itself. Someone you once loved is being drawn back to you. And what happens next will challenge everything you thought you knew about endings. The message is clear: death is near, but not the kind you fear. This is the kind of death that reshapes your soul and strips away everything false, so that something radiant and real can finally emerge. The kind of death that prepares you for a divine return. And if you're watching this now, Libra, that's no accident. You were led here. Because something ancient within you is ready to awaken, ready to face a moment of truth, of remembrance, of release. Have you felt it lately? That strange pressure in the air. That dream you can't shake. That name from your past echoing inside you with no explanation? You are not imagining it. The planets have aligned in a way they only do once every 12 years. Venus, your ruling planet, is dancing with Pluto, the ruler of death, rebirth, and everything hidden. And when these two forces connect, Libra, you are no longer allowed to live in the in-between. This is your invitation to evolve. You may find yourself thinking about someone you thought was long gone. Or feel a longing you can't quite name. That is the universe calling you deeper into your destiny. And I urge you to stay with me, because the story that's about to unfold will explain every feeling, every sign, every shadow you've sensed but couldn't yet name. Before we dive in, take one sacred moment with me. If you're still listening, that means you're ready not just to receive answers, but to remember who you are. Leave a comment below with the number 6, the number of healing, reunion, and soul level alignment. Let the universe know, I'm here. I'm ready. I claim my place in this story. And now, let me say something I don't take lightly: thank you. Thank you for being here, for showing up with your open heart and your quiet strength. Every like, every comment, every subscription isn't just support, it's a vibration. One that helps bring this message to the exact souls who need it. You are part of something bigger now. You're part of Zodiac Whisper Tarot, and together, we are calling in transformation. So, my dear Libra, take a breath, and stay with me until the end. Because what the universe is about to reveal to you is nothing short of miraculous. And now, tell me, what guided you here today? What silent force brought you back to this moment of truth? Let's imagine for a moment that your life is a sacred tapestry woven from choices, losses, quiet awakenings, and unseen hands gently guiding you towards something greater. What we call death in astrology is often misunderstood. It's not the end of your story. In truth, it is a divine invitation to turn the page. When Pluto makes its presence known as it now does in harmony with Venus, your ruling planet, it doesn't ask politely. It stirs the deepest parts of you, the ones you've kept hidden even from yourself. You may begin to feel restless, nostalgic, even emotional without knowing why. That's the energetic nudge of transformation. Pluto doesn't deal in surface shifts. It dives into your foundations and urges you to release everything you've outgrown. You are not meant to carry the weight of old versions of yourself forever. The outdated beliefs, the relationships that no longer reflect your truth, the roles you've played just to keep the peace, all of that is being gently but firmly brought to the surface for healing. Not because you failed, but because you are finally ready to evolve. The death that approaches is not a punishment. It is a clearing of space. Think of it like pruning a tree, not to harm it, but to help it bear new fruit. You've likely felt it already, the urge to let go of something, even if you can't yet name it. That whisper inside that says, "It's time." And the truth is, it is time. You're being called back to your center, where balance is born not from control, but from courage. In tarot, the Death card reminds us that all endings serve a higher purpose. It marks a line between who we were and who we're becoming. Judgment arrives when your soul is ready to answer a call it once postponed. And the Six of Cups gently reintroduces what was lost, be it a memory, a person, or a part of yourself, with the invitation to heal it differently this time. The emotional intensity of this phase is not something to fear, it's a signal that you're shedding old armor. Vulnerability is a bridge, not a weakness. When you allow yourself to release, you create room for what's meant for you to finally arrive. And while the universe speaks in symbols, we are reminded through the quiet wisdom passed down through faith that when the old things fall away, it's not to leave us empty, but to make room for abundance. We are told not to cling to what has served its time, and instead to trust that what's next will be even more aligned with our true purpose. There's a line many spiritual teachers echo: "Let go, and let what is right come." That's not just poetic, it's deeply practical. In this moment, Libra, you're being asked to trust what is leaving, even if you don't yet understand the reason. Release not with resistance, but with reverence. Just like a flower knows when to shed its petals, you too know deep in your inner wisdom when something is ready to end. Honor that knowing. And when you feel the fear rise, remind yourself, what is meant for you will always find you, but only if you are willing to unclench your hands and let go. This is the rebirth you've been waiting for, even if you didn't know you were waiting. And every moment you embrace it, you are writing a new story, one filled with more truth, more love, and more grace than ever before. Sometimes the most profound moments in life don't arrive with loud warnings. They whisper through a memory, a sudden name that drifts into your mind, or a dream that feels too vivid to ignore. Libra, when someone from your past begins to reappear in thought, in dream, or in reality, it's not random. It's resonance. It's alignment. It's the natural response of the universe to a call you may not even remember making. There are 3 sacred ways this return might unfold. For some of you, it may be a former love, the one who left a chapter open, a story half finished, words left unsaid. Not because the timing was wrong, but because you both had lessons to live before the soul could truly meet again. For others, it could be a friend, someone who once mirrored your laughter and your light, now returning with a deeper sense of presence and shared evolution. And for a few, this return won't be a person from your physical past at all, but someone new who feels uncannily familiar. As if your heart had already met them in another realm. That's not just romantic idealism, it's the magnetic pull of energy and intention finally manifesting form. What's important to understand is that this return, no matter its form, is not just about rekindling something old. It's about finishing what was left incomplete and building something new upon the truth of who you've become. The law of attraction teaches us that we do not attract what we want, but what we are. And now, after everything you've let go of, after everything that has dissolved or shifted within you, you are a different frequency. You're no longer asking for love that fills a void, you're recalling in love that reflects your growth. When the soul is ready, the right connections return, not always to stay, but always to heal. And healing isn't always gentle. Sometimes it stirs emotions you thought had settled, opens doors you swore you'd closed, or forces you to feel things you avoided for years. But this is where the deeper transformation occurs, not in the comfort, but in the courage. In numerology, the number 6 is the number of healing, reconciliation, and heart-based service. It represents the energy of homecoming, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. The number 9 is the number of completion and release. Together, they form a passage, one number calling you back to what matters, the other urging you to close what no longer serves. And in this moment, you are standing right between them, on the edge of both remembering and releasing. Let your heart lead with grace, Libra. The return of this person or energy is not something to resist or control. You don't need to figure it all out in one breath. Instead, approach it with curiosity, with compassion, and most importantly, with boundaries born from wisdom. Because the version of you that exists now deserves clarity, not confusion. And even as this door opens, trust what is unfolding. In the quiet teachings passed down through faith, we're reminded that sometimes those who return are not here to resume an old pattern, but to help you step fully into the new one. The blessing isn't in who comes back, but in who you become when they do. So if your heart is racing, if your thoughts keep circling back to someone you thought you'd buried in memory, don't push it away. Sit with it. Witness what it's trying to show you. Because healing often enters through the people who once hurt us, or through the love we thought we had lost. And when you're ready to see it differently, everything changes. Lately, you may have noticed subtle changes in your daily life, little shifts that, on the surface, seem coincidental but stir something deeper in your core. Perhaps you felt the sudden need to clean your space, declutter your home, or release belongings that once meant something to you. Libra, that's not just spring cleaning, it's a reflection of your soul making space. As within, so without. When transformation is near, your environment begins to mirror the inner release that's already in motion. Maybe you've also found yourself drawn to new people, individuals who seem to arrive out of nowhere yet speak to a part of you forgot existed. These people, even if you've only known them briefly, carry a frequency your heart recognizes. They often act as messengers, guides, or catalysts. They don't fix you, but they spark something in you. A reminder, a question, a truth you needed to remember. That, too, is no accident. The universe sends alignment, not accidents. As the internal shift accelerates, your preferences often begin to change. You might notice yourself craving solitude or peace over stimulation. You may feel called to read about healing, energy, or the power of the subconscious. Maybe your playlists have shifted from energetic beats to calming instrumentals, binaural tones, or soulful vocals that seem to reach your core. All of these changes are part of a much larger awakening. Your energy is choosing what nourishes your evolution. Dreams are especially active during this phase. Water, butterflies, mirrors, stairways, elevators, these aren't random symbols. They are expressions of your subconscious, speaking in metaphors when words fall short. Water represents emotional purification. Mirrors reflect the parts of yourself you're ready to see. Butterflies signify transformation. Stairways or elevators point to spiritual ascension, or perhaps the emotional descent needed before you rise. If your dreams have become vivid, unsettling, or strangely beautiful, write them down. Even if you don't understand them yet, your soul is communicating with you in its own sacred language. Synchronicity, those uncanny moments where everything seems connected, will likely increase. You think of someone, and they call. You hear a phrase, and then read it again moments later. You stumble upon a book that seems written just for you. These are not tricks of the mind. They are gentle affirmations that you are tuned in. They are the breadcrumbs guiding you back to your path. In these moments, it's helpful to slow down and take notice. Keep a journal beside your bed. Write what you remember when you wake up. Track patterns in your day. What colors do you see repeatedly? What numbers keep appearing? The more you pay attention, the clearer the message becomes. Transformation doesn't always roar, it often whispers. But the more you listen, the louder it gets. Now more than ever, it's important to support your energetic body. Surround yourself with colors that carry the vibration of what you're seeking. This week, soft blush pink will help heal the heart and invite self-compassion. Olive green will help you find balance in areas that feel out of alignment. And pearl white will illuminate the truth hiding beneath the surface, bringing calm and clarity to any internal confusion. Even when you're uncertain about what lies ahead, remind yourself of this: growth rarely arrives with comfort, but it always brings clarity. You are being prepared for something greater, not because you asked for it in a moment of desperation, but because your soul was always destined to find its way home. Trust the signs. You don't need to force anything. Just be present enough to notice what's unfolding, and willing enough to follow it. Perhaps without fully realizing it, you've been walking through a quiet transformation. And as you've shed old habits, released outdated attachments, and allowed certain truths to rise, you've stepped into the opening of a completely new chapter, one where life no longer mirrors who you were, but who you are becoming. This phase of transition isn't just about what you're letting go of. It's about what's preparing to unfold on the other side of that release. And Libra, what waits for you there is more aligned, more abundant, and more meaningful than you may have dared to imagine. For some of you, this transformation will manifest through the realm of career, visibility, or financial abundance. You may be called to take on a leadership role, to be the voice in a room that others turn to for clarity and vision. You might receive an invitation to step into a collaboration or creative project that elevates both your purpose and your platform. The Emperor energy speaks to this exact moment, one where you are not only seen, but trusted because of the inner authority you've cultivated through everything you've overcome. And with the Ace of Pentacles aligning here, this isn't just about symbolic achievement, it's about real-world reward. Tangible opportunities. Unexpected offers. A door opening you thought was sealed. But the key to receiving this is your willingness to see yourself as worthy of it. Not someday. Now. For others, the path ahead will be less about status and more about meaning. This is where passion, purpose, and inner calling converge. You may find yourself drawn to fields like art, healing, beauty, psychology, design, or any profession that allows you to weave empathy and creativity into something of value. Don't be afraid to pivot. Don't fear being different. Following your calling may not always look logical on paper, but it will feel right in your body. Trust that feeling. In times of alignment, excitement is not a coincidence, it's a compass. one that is pointing you toward the kind of work that nourishes your soul and serves something greater than yourself. Then there are those of you who are waking up to something even deeper. A level of clarity and spiritual awareness that can't be explained, only experienced. You may feel more sensitive to the emotions of others, more attuned to energy in spaces, or more compelled to reach out and help without knowing why. This is a sign that your intuition is expanding. You're no longer only responding to what's seen, you're listening to what's felt. And that kind of sensitivity is a strength, not a weakness. In fact, it's the very foundation of leadership in this new paradigm. As your awareness deepens, so will your desire to connect, not from a place of needing approval, but from the knowing that your experiences have given you something to offer. This is what it means to be a vessel of light, not to be perfect, but to be present enough to hold space for others while still honoring yourself. Throughout scripture and spiritual teaching, we are reminded that those who rise are not always those who strive the hardest, but often those who surrender the most. Surrender isn't giving up, it's giving way. Making room for a life that matches your truth instead of your fears. So as these new paths begin to appear before you, don't rush. Don't force. Simply pay attention. What lights you up? What makes your heart beat faster in the best way? What have you been avoiding because it feels too big, too beautiful, or too unfamiliar? That might be the very thing you're meant to walk toward now. Because this new version of your life, it's not a reward for your pain. It's the natural result of your healing. You are ready for it. And it's already making its way to you. There are moments when the universe speaks not with words, but with timing. And Libra, this is one of those moments. You are standing at a threshold where hesitation holds more weight than you think. That slight pause, that quiet delay, that subtle questioning, those tiny fractures in your commitment to change can create ripple effects far beyond what you see now. Not because you are being punished for doubting, but because life responds to clarity. And when you don't choose, the energy around you still moves. The current still flows. And if you're not the one steering the course, something or someone else will take the place that was meant for you. This is a call for gentle but decisive action. Not urgency that stems from fear, but intention that comes from alignment. The window you're in is sacred, it's not permanent, but it is powerful. And what you do during this phase will either open the gates of transformation or quietly pass the key to another. You don't need to leap blindly into the unknown. But you do need to move. To show that you're ready, even if you don't have every detail figured out yet. The truth is, opportunity isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, a pull in the chest, a tug in your spirit, a quiet knowing that now is the time to act. And if that's what you're feeling, trust it. The gifts lining up for you, whether in love, healing, or creative expansion, require your presence and participation. They don't demand perfection, only willingness. But if you wait too long, the moment reshapes itself, and what could have been yours may no longer feel within reach. To anchor this energy and keep the doors open, there are 3 powerful rituals you can begin today. First, a simple heart-opening practice. Light a white candle. Place a fresh or dried rose nearby. Write your desires, what you're ready to receive, and what you're willing to offer in return, on a piece of paper. Fold it gently. Hold it near your heart, and say aloud that you are open to love, change, and divine alignment. This isn't about superstition, It's about aligning your actions with your intentions and allowing your nervous system to feel safe in your own readiness. Second, begin a daily practice of gratitude not as a habit, but as a healing. Each day, thank life for what is already working: your breath, your awareness, your resilience, your intuition. Gratitude shifts your frequency into receptivity. It moves you out of lack and into trust, which is the exact emotional state from which miracles are born. Even the quietest thanks can unlock the loudest blessings. Third, take inventory of what you're holding onto, especially the things you no longer love, use, or feel connected to. This applies to objects, relationships, routines, and thoughts. The law of vacuum teaches that when we clear space, something new must come in to fill it. If your physical or emotional space is crowded with what you've outgrown, it becomes difficult for new gifts to land. Create space. Energetically and practically. Show the universe you're ready for more by proving you're no longer clinging to less. And Libra, remember this: blessings don't chase indecision. They align with clarity. And while you may feel safest standing still, the truth is that your life doesn't change when you stay at the edge. It changes the moment you take the first step, however small, however unsure, toward the version of yourself that's already waiting just on the other side. When everything feels uncertain, and your heart is pulled in more than one direction, that's often a sign you're standing right on the edge of something extraordinary. Libra, this journey you've just taken with me isn't just about predictions or possibilities, it's a mirror. A mirror reflecting the version of you that is ready to rise, ready to choose, and ready to become. The person you once loved, or the version of yourself you thought was gone forever, they're not returning by accident. Their presence marks the return of purpose, of alignment, of truth you can no longer ignore. And maybe, deep down, you already knew that something big was coming. Maybe you've been feeling it in your chest, the tightening, the longing, the hope. The truth is, your soul has been preparing for this moment far longer than your mind can comprehend. That's why the timing feels so uncanny. That's why old memories are surfacing, why strange coincidences seem to be guiding you, why the world feels louder and quieter at the same time. The most beautiful endings rarely look like endings at all. They feel like loss at first. But beneath the surface, something holy begins to take root. The person or the opportunity coming back into your life now is not a repetition of the past. It's a reflection of your growth. And the only question is, will you embrace it with both hands, or will you let it pass in fear of being hurt again? Let me ask you something. What would your life look like if you chose truth over comfort? If you trusted that your clarity, not your hesitation, is the most powerful prayer you can offer? If you finally decided that you're ready for something real, something lasting, something designed for the evolved you? Because it's not too late. In fact, this may be the perfect time. But the key must come from you. So take a moment to sit with everything you've learned today. What spoke to you the most? What stirred something in you that you didn't expect? What are you being called to release, to reclaim, or to walk boldly toward? Leave me a comment below and tell me, what part of your destiny feels like it's knocking right now? Who or what do you sense is making its way back to you, and how do you want to greet it? Say it out loud. Write it down. Affirm it into reality. I am Libra, and I am ready for the return that will change everything. And as you reflect on all of this, I want you to know from the deepest part of my being, thank you. Thank you for showing up, for being brave enough to listen, to feel, to consider something bigger than what your eyes can see. Your presence here means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every new subscriber expands the reach of this message and allows the family we're building at Zodiac Whisper Tarot to grow. You are part of that light now. And that light is what will carry you through. So if this video stirred something inside you, even just a little, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your truth in the comments. You never know who else you might inspire by doing so. And I promise you this, if you keep showing up for yourself, the universe will keep showing up for you. Because Libra, the beautiful ending you crave doesn't arrive by luck. It arrives when you finally choose the version of yourself that's been quietly waiting to be seen all along.